This is my review of Mob Psycho 100. Okay, so this episode took the idea of loneliness, as in the case of the title, Poor Lonely Whitey, and actually kind of flips it on its head a little bit. So what happened is that Mob, having finally broken a new time record, is celebrated by the Body Improvement Club for breaking it. However, they also realized that they missed a couple of birthdays as well, so both the Body Improvement Club and the Telepathy Club get together and go out to celebrate both birthdays and Mob's accomplishment of breaking his push-up record. And Mob is having a fun time. He's enjoying being with friends. He even says as much. Because he never hangs out with kids his own age. He almost always hangs out with Reigen. So he likes the idea of hanging out by himself with some of his friends. So yeah, this doesn't last very long. Reigen calls him in the middle of him hanging out because he just got a call from a client telling him that they're trying to exorcise a tofu spirit of a guy who died and hit his head on some frozen tofu. And Mob is very vocal about his displeasure with this. He points out that this isn't the first time Reigen has called him to tell him that he needs to stop whatever he's doing and go help Reigen out. And Mob notably is getting sick of it. He finally tells Reigen outright that he's told him repeatedly to stop doing exactly that. But Reigen doesn't listen and hangs up, so Mob had to leave early and cut it off with his friends so that he could go help Reigen with his job. And his friends are understanding, pointing out that jobs should take priority. So Mob goes and exorcises the spirit with Reigen, and after the exorcism is over, Mob brings up his concerns to Reigen, pointing out that he does have a social life, he does have a school life, and that Reigen shouldn't rely on him as much as he does. However, Reigen kind of doesn't really take that all too well. He points out that Mob's friends are just using him so that he gets to keep him busy because they like having somebody weaker than them to pick on and move around and mock him. So, and he points out that anybody who gets in the way of his exorcism job, he should cut out of his life. However, Mob disagrees, knowing full well that his friends don't actually hate him and actually do like hanging out with him, and brings this up to Reigen, who realizes that he may have overstepped his bounds, and Mob realizes that not everything Reigen says is correct, and decides to take a break from coming to work for a while he figures out what he wants to do. So Reigen isn't too concerned by this, believing that Mob will eventually come crawling back to him. However, when he discovers that Mob actually does indeed have friends and realizes that he needs to try and do some better stuff. So he tries to update the homepage and figure things out. And while he's on there, he decides to check out Facebook or whatever the Mob Psycho 100 equivalent is, and discovers that he only has one notification from his mother and his birthday. So, at which point he realizes that he might not, in fact, have any friends, and goes to a bar to try and meet up with some of the people he considers his friends, quote unquote. However, he realizes that that didn't really pan out either, and leaves. And eventually, on the way home, he realizes he doesn't really know who he is. He doesn't know what he wants. He just kind of knows that he needs to start changing things after realizing he has no friends, and he's basically lost without Mob. So after this point, he decides to buckle down and make his business more professional looking. And sure enough, he starts gaining popularity. He starts taking more jobs that he wouldn't normally do, such as giving free seminars, cleaning up trash, live streaming exorcisms, that kind of stuff. But his biggest claim to fame is actually exorcising a digital spirit that nobody else can exorcise, called the Player Killer, on a mobile game. Well, not a mobile game, but a desktop MMO type thing. But anyway, after spending several hours and a lot of his money in upgrading and leveling up his characters, he finally does manage to beat the player killer, which causes his fame to skyrocket, and he's eventually asked to go on TV and perform a live exorcism. However, there is a bit of a catch. So, he shows up at the studio as promised, but as it turns out, this is apparently all a plot by Kieran Jodo, who is a bit sore over the fact that he got drop kicked the other week, and is now trying to ruin Reigen's career. So, yeah, that's kind of a bit of an extreme jump leap to make. But, yeah. Meanwhile, throughout all of this, Mob has actually been doing pretty well for himself. He's been hanging out with his friends a lot more, and overall, he's just a lot happier. So, yeah, this episode kind of just showcased just yes, so you shouldn't always take everything people say at face value. You should always try and look to see, hey, are they right? Did what they say actually make sense, or are they just talking out their ass? And it also does flip the idea of being lonely on his head. Because for the longest time, Mob didn't have friends. He hung out with Reigen almost exclusively, because Reigen was the only person who Mob could truly vent his feelings towards. But in the past season and a half, Mob has really grown a lot. He started branching out. He started making more friends. He's even started improving himself by joining the Body Improvement Club, evident by the fact that he broke his overall record in the first 5 minutes of the episode. Meanwhile, Reigen hasn't really grown at all. He's stayed the same charismatic con artist person that he has been for the entire series. From the first episode all the way up to now, he has almost never tried to improve himself, and only just now started. So, yeah, it's evident that Reigen is the one who wound up being lonely. Meanwhile, Mob has grown as a person and actually moved on with his life. So, yeah, this episode just kind of flips that idea on his head. Initially, Mob was the lonely person, and Reigen was there to be his mentor. But after a while, Reigen just kind of became the sidekick and didn't have any friends. So it was a complete 180 from what happened before. Reigen started off being this charismatic guy who Mob could look up to, but now Reigen has to take a page out of Mob's book and become more rounded as a person himself. So, yeah, it did a complete 180 in a season and a half. So yeah, that's mainly what the episode was. It was about Reigen realizing that yes, he is a loser who needs to make some friends, and sure enough, he goes out and makes some friends, or at least tries to. He tries to better himself. But yeah, that's mainly what this episode was. So, if you guys have indeed enjoyed this episode of Mob Psycho 100, what did you guys think? Let's get the discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, check out my Patreon in the description below as well if you want to help support the show. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys can actually do a bunch of cool perks that are my way of saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. Again, only a couple bucks, so help support me, and I'll help support you guys in turn. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!